What is going on, deets and dudettes of the interweb? Thank you so much for clicking. I am AJay and let's get right into this video. 2018 is finally coming to an end, and y'all know what time it is. It's that time of the year when we talk about what songs and albums had the most impact on us. We've talked about our best and worst songs released in 2018, and today we will continue with our year-end list with the worst albums or the most disappointing albums released in 2018. Just a quick reminder, these are just my opinions, okay? And this is strictly art. So do not take offense to what I have to say about these albums. These are not gonna be in chronological order, okay? So have that in mind. Y'all already know what we're about to do, so without further ado, let's get it poppin'. Number 10, Joyride by Tinashe. This album to me was very generic and lacked substance. An artist of this caliber should honestly have more to say and offer, especially because she has spent years in the music industry. This is not Tinashe's debut album. It's not. There was nothing personal about this album. It fell flat, and there's little replay value. The featured artists, worthless. Okay? They had nothing of value to add to the album. They were not excited. Matter of fact, they were more detrimental than helpful. Some of the sounds and production on this album sounded outdated. You know what? I definitely think that Tinashe needs to take some time off, live a little, regroup, tweak a few things about her sound and content, and come back rebranded. Number 9, The Sunset Tapes, a cool tape story by Jaden Smith. This album actually started out quite promising sound-wise because I did enjoy the first track, Soho, even though elements of that song kind of reminded me of Travis Scott. However, in my mind, I thought, hey, there's nothing wrong with being inspired. Girl, okay? Every single song after Soho should have been locked up in a coffin and cremated because they were trash. He tried to be creative, but he failed miserably because every single track, I mean every single track on this album sounded like someone else's niche. And the emulation was done so vapidly. Jaden, what happened? This album lacked creativity, and he had nothing substantial to add with this album. Jaden, you have got to find your own sound, sweetie, okay? Because this album was not it. Number 8, Voice Notes by Charlie Puth. This album is insipid, it's forgettable, and as a whole, it has little to no replay value. I gave this album a few listens, and till this day, I cannot remember what 90% of the songs sound like. Don't get me wrong, it has a few standout tracks like Attention and How Long, but that's because those songs were official singles. And if you think about it, those songs kind of sound the same, just like majority of his album. They have similar patterns and sounds. Overall, the album was vanilla, it lacks profundity, and it's just boring. Number 7, Culture 2 by Meadows. You know, there are quite a few artists who need to be restrained from making long-ass albums, and the Meadows just so happen to be at the top of that list. They had nothing of substance to offer across the board with this album. Not lyrically, not sonically, not nothing. Nothing. This album was cohesive though. It was cohesive. cohesively repetitive and boring as hell. Dude, don't get it twisted. A few songs here and there were above average, like Stir Fry, because Stir Fry is still my shizzle. However, they have no business making a 24-track album. If you've heard one song, you've heard it all. The same content, the same sound. Ew. This album was beige and dull, okay? It was beige and dull. Number 6, Dummy Boy by Tinashe 6ix9ine. Out of mere curiosity, I decided to give this album a listen, and I was left all kinds of confused, starting with the titles of the song. Like, okay, some of the songs started out quite interesting to say the least. However, they lost their appeal seconds into the song. Nothing about this album is innovative, not the beats, not the production. Talk less about the lyrical content. The content is beyond repetitive. As you would expect, he was actually upstaged by his featured artists, and that's not necessarily a compliment to all the featured artists because they sounded like shit too. They did. Kanye West was an embarrassment on this project, but what else is new? The outro sounded unfinished. It ended so abruptly. It felt like as soon as they were putting the finishing touches to the outro, they got rated, and Tinashe was locked up that day, and they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna leave it like that. They didn't bother. This album, to me, needs to be where Tinashe 6ix9ine currently is. Locked up. Number 5, Sick Boy by the Chainsmokers. Some of you know how I feel about the Chainsmokers. However, when I found out they were dropping a new project, I decided to clear my mind of the preconceived notions and go in with an open mind like I would every other artist. Well, girl, I was quickly reminded why the Chainsmokers fell off the earth after their first year of success. This album contained the same formulaic, generic-ass EDM sound they have been delivering throughout their careers. They have not evolved artistically. The lyrical content is basic, it's childish, and damn near cringy. On the first track, featuring Kelsey Ballerini, they said something along the lines of, "They tell me to think with my mind and not the thing in my chest." Sir, the thing in your chest has a name, okay? It's called heart. Damn it. Another track featuring Drew Love, they said something along the lines of, "I don't like anybody, so do not compare me to anybody." What? What kind of pseudo deep shit is this? Hang it up. Oh my God. I'm very much convinced that their target audience were freshman college girls, okay? Because I cannot fathom anybody older than that actually listening to their project and relating and feeling it. If you haven't listened to this album, good for you, good for you. Number 4, Quavo Honcho by Quavo. This album is composed of 19 songs I wish I didn't listen to. Nothing about this project made any sense whatsoever. It's all fillers and no killers. Majority of the songs sound similar to one another. He had a bunch of featured artists on this project and none of them saved a single song. He had artists like Drake, Madonna, Cardi B, Offset, Travis Scott, Normani, and others, and none of their shit slapped. Madonna and Cardi B were featured on a song, and that shit left me scratching the hell out of my head. I was wondering what the hell happened to Cardi B's ghost writers, because whatever she delivered on that track made no sense whatsoever. Okay, she had some basic ass lyrics like, "I get pissed off, you get pissed on." Another line was, "I don't do number 2, that's the shit I be on." Girl, what? What are you saying? And Madonna, I don't even know what the hell Madonna was doing on that track, but she did not save the song at all. Oh, yo, and Quavo tried to do a response to Barbie Dreams by Nicki Minaj, and he just sucked the fun out of everything. That track to me is the equivalent of somebody poking you as a joke and you rebuttal with a punch that lands that person in the hospital. I don't know how true or factual that track was, but Quavo, that was not it, okay? It was not it. Overall, this album was lackluster, okay? The only distinguishable song on that album was the one featuring Normani, and that was mediocre at best. Quavo, if you decide to release another project, which we hope you don't, but if you do, please take your time and actually come up with something more creative, not a Culture 2 Part 2, okay? And y'all had the audacity to call him the Beyonce of the group. Y'all better put some respect on goddamn Beyonce. Shit. Number 3, Man of the Woods by Justin Timberlake. So after a 5-year hiatus from music, Justin Timberlake decided to drop an album which left me more perplexed than excited. Majority of the songs of this project tried to integrate certain elements from different genres, which ended up being messy and less enjoyable. In my opinion, I think that the concept and the intention of this album was lost in the overproduction and experimentation. I don't know what happened here, but this album was not smooth at all. It was all over the place and it lacked cohesiveness sonically. Even the title track, Man of the Woods, was vapid as hell. Justin, what happened? Oh, like I said, Justin Timberlake tried to be hip with the times, but he just couldn't cut it. Number 2, Scorpion by Drake. This album was a drag. It was a long ass drag. I'm stressed out just thinking about it. This was a 25-track project split into a side A and a side B. Side A was supposedly the hip-hop version of this album, and girl, it was composed of the same monotonous bar spit and delivery with some mediocre production, some repetitive lyrical content, as well as very similar sounding beats. Jay-Z was the only featured artist on side A, and even though this isn't Jay-Z's best feature this year, he happened to be the best thing that happened on side A because he brought some life to this shit. Drake had a song titled Mob Ties, and it was so reminiscent of Young Thug's sound, and it was off-putting because I was like, dude, stop biting his shit, be original, god damn it. Side B, on the other hand, was the R&B version of this album, and Drake delivered some aggravating singing on this side. Listen, I'm gonna need for y'all to stop gassing Drake up. He cannot sing, period. He cannot sing. Hang it up, flat screen, for God's sake. Okay? This album was unnecessarily long, and a few tracks, very few tracks stood out, but majority were fillers. It was a surfaced album, and in my opinion, it aged like milk. Number 1, Sweetener by Ariana Grande. This is definitely my most disappointing albums of 2018. It's not the worst, however, it is disappointing, mostly because I know Ariana Grande's potential as an artist. I've heard her best work, And this is very far from it. The sequencing on this album, especially in the first half of it, was terrible. She went from a song like Raindrops, which is a beautiful a cappella solo, to a song like Blazed, which is more on the experimental side of things, with one of the most terrible vocals delivered by Ariana Grande. She sounded like she was struggling with the lower vocal range. And then this album proceeds to a song, We Are Going to Pretend never existed. Every single Pharrell produced track should not have seen the light of day because majority of those songs were vacuous, they were confusing, and had little to no replay value. Very few songs on this album were reflective of what Ariana Grande was going through in the past year or so. And those songs include Breathe In, No Tears Left to Cry, and Get Well Soon. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. They were certain standout tracks like Breathe In and God Is a Woman, and I'm gonna include No Tears Left to Cry, but everything else was just mediocre at best. This album was not cohesive at all, and I just wish Pharrell was nowhere near this album. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? It did not accentuate her forte, which is her unique, beautiful voice, and majority of the content was shallow. Well, we have finally come to the conclusion of this list, and that is it for the worst or disappointing albums of 2018. Please do not forget to share your list in the comment section below. Remember, this is not necessarily in chronological order, okay? Okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share. If you have any other recommendations, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to watch or listen and react. In the meantime, I will talk to you later. Bye!